guys, and welcome back to another video, and today we are looking at a scenario where Germany went communist before World War II. So to make this possible, we are going to have to change a few things, maybe make it a bit more unrealistic. But we're just going to assume that all the Nazi leaders got killed at some point during some protest or some rebellion of some sort. And in their place stood the communists, who began to take over control of Germany. Soon enough, the communists rose up in most areas of Germany in a fairly one-sided civil war against the Democrats. They quickly captured Silesia and northern Germany. From there, they expand into Brandenburg and the rest of the coast. They stage an uprising in Königsberg and capture all of East Prussia. From there, they stage an uprising in, near Munich in Bayern and capture that entire region as well. They then push into central Germany until eventually Frankfurt falls, push into Württemberg until, that's gone as well, cutting this new Germany into two, and start to push into the Rhine region, arguably the most important for the Democrats. Till soon enough, despite Western aid, the Democrats surrender, and Germany has now gone communist, scaring the West immensely. What's the first thing that Germany is going to do? Well, if you hadn't guessed it already, they're going to try and make more communist nations, starting with Austria, where they stage a rebellion in the north. This is technically not supposed to be funded by the Germans, but in the end, everyone knows it's really German troops who are making the progress, not Austrian rebellion. But Austria is stalled near the major cities, not even in the Alps, and nobody can make progress. Since Germany does not want to upset the Western powers until they are ready for full-on war, they decide to leave Austria alone for now and focus on something else. That something else is the Spanish Civil War, where, no side has really won quite yet. We have the nationalists who have risen up in, around at least the west of Spain, and we have some Democrat forces that have risen up in the south. And now we are going to see a pro-German and pro-Soviet communist government, specifically pro-German, of course, because that's what this video is about, rising up in Catalonia. This government takes the initiative and captures much of Spain's eastern coast, eventually pushing out to rival the nationalists. The nationalists reach the coast and begin to push south towards the southern, rebellion. And soon enough, a new standstill is made, in which the non-aligned and Democrat parties decide to team up against these much stronger nationalist and communist governments. This causes a massive pushback in the south, until eventually the front is stable, and we have a three-way civil war in nationalist Spain. Meanwhile, the Austrian rebellion, which is totally not filled with German volunteer forces that are really just the German army, capture Vienna and Graz. With this, Austria surrenders, and a pro-German government is put into place, which may soon enough want to join Germany, totally on their own free will. After that, the nationalists begin to be pushed back, as without any German aid coming in from the north, and Italian aid being very strained, since the southern Democrats are being supported by the Allies, who give them access to many naval destroyers and cruisers and convoys, and just destroy all the aid going to the nationalists. The nationalists are cut into two by the communists, and although the Democrats do make some progress into, the Southern Nationalist Rebellion, the rest of the land is taken over by the communists, who now hold a clear majority of this land. They slowly begin to push the Democrats back, even staging some uprisings in regions that really would rather be communist, seeing the upside. Soon enough, these regions are cut off, destroyed, and Spain is unified under a communist government, which is very much so a German puppet, although not on paper, just in practice. Soon enough, Austria joins Germany, and everything is going exactly to the new Communist Party's plan. They set up an alliance with the Russians, and, just start destroying just about everyone. They influence Czech politics by making a very powerful communist party, force Lithuania to hand over Memel or die. And Germany, with the help of the Soviets, is pushing around every minor nation that surrounds them. Soon enough, though, the French and British decide that this cannot happen, and even earlier than in our timeline, they decide to work together to form a faction against the Germans. Pretty much just against the Germans, although it is supposed to be to stop the communist threat. This is going to make the US more likely to join and make the United States join sooner, although not quite yet. And then what comes next is actually the Second World War, although not how you'd expect it to be. As here we have Italy. Italy has just destroyed Ethiopia and is trying to make a name for themselves. They invade Yugoslavia, capturing much of Dalmatia. And yes, I'm going to color them in blue, but they're not at war yet. They managed to capture much of Dalmatia, create a Croatian puppet, and a Serbian state, who all joined this new Italian pact. They then annex Albania and continue their expansion by inviting Bulgaria. A pro-Italian government takes place, Bulgaria joins, and we see Italy vastly expanding its influence across the Balkans. Hungary, who also has a pro-Italian government, also joins. And now we see Germany being threatened. What's Germany going to do? They're going to stage an uprising in northern Czechia. This is going to go fairly well, although they do not manage to capture Prague. They begin to push out into all German-dominated regions across the border, whilst the Czechs push them back around the major cities. Soon enough, the Italians/Hungarians stage their own rebellion in Slovakia, managing to capture many lands before they are stopped. Not too long after, a basically Slovak independence group rises up near Bratislava, and it really won't be that much longer before Czechoslovakia is destroyed. Soon enough, the Czechs surrender to all parties involved, and a peace treaty will have to be drawn up. In this peace treaty, the Germans will gain certain minor lands along the border, including parts of the German-dominated regions, although surprisingly enough, they do not take it all. They instead choose to get for themselves a Bohemian puppet, whilst the Polish manage to take certain lands in Zaolzie as they stage their own small uprising. These are German and Polish lands. Next up is the Hungarians, who will be taking over much of, well, anything that isn't considered Slovak territory. They managed to capture all of it. Meanwhile, Slovakia captures the rest. How did I forget the name? They just capture all of eastern Czechoslovakia. Meanwhile, the rest of it goes to the Slovaks, who declare their independence, although, as I mentioned earlier, the Polish will be gaining some of that land. This is how the end peace treaty looks. Let's go ahead and draw that in, and we can see how much this has changed in the map, which literally just changed one region of the world. This is all leading up to World War II, by the way, and there will be 2 world wars in this video, not just one. Actually, let's make this one and make a part 2 later. I'm going to split this up into 2 videos, so if you want to see World War III play out, which is going to be where the communists and the Democrats go to war, go and watch that. I'm sure it'll be even better. Slovaks declare their independence, allying themselves with the Poles. And now we see a very, very strong Germany with an ally in Spain and an ally in the Soviet Union. So it's going to be this new World War II, and that is of course going to be the Germans versus the Italians. A pro-communist rebellion takes place in northern Italy near the city of Venice. They soon meet up with the Germans and are supplied heavily with guns and ammunition. There's also a communist rebellion in Yugoslavia, as the people are pissed at them for letting Italy take a bunch of land and then just submitting to Italian authority. This is also boosted by the fact that Italy, for some reason, chooses to invade Greece. They want to secure their influence over the Balkans and over the Mediterranean. They invade the country and begin their invasion. Soon enough, all of these factors combined cause a full-on war to start, as Germany gets involved directly in the Communist Civil War in all regions, and the Allies begin to fund the Greeks, even staging their own invasions into Italian lands, capturing parts of Sardinia and parts of the Alpine region of Italy. All of this causes a full-blown World War II, as the Allies join in on the Greek side, whilst the Comintern join in on the, communist rebellious side. This is actually going to have the Democrats and the Communists working together, surprisingly enough. The French continue to slog through the Italian Alps, although it will be a while longer before they manage to capture too much land. They do manage to capture all of Sardinia, however, and start to plan a naval invasion of southern Italy. This is all boosted by the fact that Italy is getting pushed back heavily in the north by pro-communist forces. They have taken over all of northern Italy, besides what the Allies took, and are starting to push down the peninsula. They are also pushing down into the Balkans, as in Hungary, the Hungarians fight desperately, but in Yugoslavian lands, the fight is much more tilted in the communist favor. Meanwhile, in Greece, the Greeks are pushing back. With the Italians heavily distracted, only the Bulgarians are able to hold them off. They manage to make progress into Albania, capturing all of their claims and more. From here, the Allies are going to make a desperate attempt to capture southern Italy, which will go surprisingly well. They manage to capture the entire region and set up their own puppet government here, a democratic one. Soon enough, this expands into a major naval invasion, as pretty much the old Kingdom of Two Sicilies is captured. Along with this, the communist forces push into the Alpine region, whilst the Allies capture the rest. Down in the Balkans, it is not even a question of who will win, it is just a question of who will win more. The Germans are continuing to make progress into Hungary. Meanwhile, the Slovaks agreed to put in a pro-communist government, as they weren't too against it to begin with, and getting lands back from Hungary could not hurt. Their alliance with the Poles breaks off, and Hungary now surrenders, leaving only Bulgaria and whatever's left of Yugoslavia, which should be gone right about now. With this major fall, Bulgaria, well, they know they stand no chance, and they will be surrendering. From here, we also see all Italian colonies being grabbed up by the Allies. Okay, simple enough, I guess. That was World War II. The war between the fascists, aka Italy and the Balkans, versus the Democrats and the Communists. Now let's draft up this peace treaty as quick as I can. First of all, we're going to have the French taking certain Alpine territories, with the promise of setting up a democratic aligned country here. They also annexed Sardinia while setting up a southern Italian puppet state. Meanwhile, the British do something quite similar. Well, technically the southern state is actually British. We also see the Greeks expanding into much of what they could have ever dreamed of, capturing much of Macedonia and into Bulgaria, getting a coastline along the Black Sea. This is surprisingly good for the Greeks, as they were invaded, and they are now still not a power, but they are far more influential, especially within the Allies. The Allies continue to expand, as more and more countries may not be looking to fully join the alliance, but to gain some sort of say in what goes on. Okay, let me just color in a few more allied countries so we can really see the scale of this. Here we go. Okay, yeah, once you start to add in colonies, this is far more one-sided. Bulgaria joins, along with the two new republics, the Republic of Albania, who manages to expand, and the Republic of Macedonia. these are new territories that are taken by the Allies and puppeted by the Greeks, or Albania, which is puppeted by the British. From here, we see how the Balkans will be basically split up. Slovakia is going to regain all territories that were lost to Hungary and more. They're going to set up a very powerful Slovak state, capturing many Hungarian majority lands against multiple countries' wishes. Germany is going to take much of northern Italy, as some of it might have some justification, but most of it is more of a prestige project. They also capture much of Slovenia, once again, just to expand themselves, get a coastline along the Adriatic. The rest of this land is given to a new Yugoslav state. And of course, this northern Italian state is turned into a communist puppet of Germany. Once again, on paper, not a puppet, but in reality, it's doing whatever the Germans say, which is exactly what a puppet would do. With that, communist influence has spread far and spread fast, and the democratic countries are looking for anyone to join them. Who's going to join them? Well, you know Uncle Sam? He was, in real life, the USA was kind of on the fence about joining World War II until Japan attacked Pearl Harbor and Germany declared war on them. But in this scenario, the US is far more willing. We can say that a presidential election went differently, but we can mainly say that their outlook towards commies is much worse than even their outlook against fascists before their war crimes were shown. After that, it was fairly similar bad looks, but for all of time they have been against each other, as the US is pretty much the symbol of capitalism, and communism swears to destroy all who practice capitalism. With that up, first let's divide up the colonies of the Italians, as it is going to be fairly one-sided. All of it going to the Allies, completely one-sided. Ethiopia is going to be fully annexed into Britain. No new Ethiopian government will be put into place. The Africans cannot have a rallying force to give them their independence. That cannot be allowed. If they lost all of this African lands, the Allies would be far, far worse off. They might even be weaker than the communists, which they might actually already be. Libya is split, and overall this is a minor strengthening for the British Empire, but it is going to expand their position as the largest empire in history. The French as well will greatly benefit from these North African ports, especially Tripoli. Okay, I think I'm going to end it there. There are now two great world orders, the communist and the capitalist ones. The United States is not yet the leader of the capitalist ones, but as pro-Allied sentiment goes up and pro-commie sentiment goes even further down, the USA may be inclined to join soon enough. With that, I do hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time for part 2. Bye.